Welcome back to Tell Me About Midlands 103 podcast. I'm Sarah Castley, and this is the podcast where you get to find out all about the inner workings of the radio station and who some of the people are behind the voices and in the background. Today, it's all about Midlands 103 in the evenings. We have 4 guests with us today. From Taking Care of Business, we have Ronan Berry, the countryman himself, Joe Cooney, newcomer to the airways and host of Encore, Shannon Fogerty, and the VIP's very cool presenter, Adam C. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi. Yes, hello.
Good to be here.
Great intro, thank you.
Very well, yeah.
How come he gets described as cool?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That was great.
Well, everyone had a little bit of an introduction.
Cool,
Ronan,
you are.
Yes. You're the businessman.
Yeah.
You have to keep.
I know my
You have to
place,
keep
Joe.
the cool head.
Sorry.
So on the evenings in Midlands 103, we have a host of different shows with a range of different topics, including health and fitness, new music, the arts, going green, and of course, business. Ronan, why do you think it's important for us to cover such a host of topics?
I think the key word there, Sarah, is different. I think our listeners demand it and they expect it as well. I think our great listeners who are growing in their numbers year on year, they have a great appetite for content, for new content, different content as well. And I think as well, the Midlands, it's such a vibrant scene for arts, for country music, for business, for everything that we do, that it's the right thing to do to showcase that and bring those great new stories to the people.
Yeah, do you all agree as well?
That's very well said.
100%, yeah, 100%.
So, Joe, you're on every evening with Country Roads. Tell me about what is the best thing about presenting your particular show?
Well, when I started, country music was not my genre.
Really? Was it not?
That's a fact, yeah. It wasn't. I was into the REMs and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
Nice.
And I fell into country music purely by just chance, I suppose, right place, right time. And I was just saying to Shannon earlier on, sorry Shannon, apologies for that, that it was just one of those things that happened. I won't go into the whole details of it now, but it's one of those things I believe it's just fate.
Yeah.
Something led me up. It wasn't even in my radar. But yes, I love country music now and I love what I do here. And I love promoting new singers as well. I think it's important to promote new singers and keep the old stuff going. Old gold retold would be the kind of way to put that, really. But it's hard to get the right mix too. But I love doing it. Just love doing it. And I think even when I'm sick, you're not supposed to come in when you're sick, but I'd want to come in. If you know what I mean. So I mean, that's a pretty, I suppose, great indemnity of the station or of the show or of doing what we do in terms of media. I was just saying to Shannon earlier on that it becomes a disease, doesn't it?
It does. It's a pure addiction, just wanting to do this. And it's, from your story you told me earlier, it's what's meant to be will be, and what's for you won't pass you. And it's just such a nice way.
Well, listen, we've got time. We've talked about this story. If you would like to share with us, that would be great.
Very
I think there'd be quite a lot of people really intrigued.
I've probably heard most of these already. Every Tuesday we have a beautiful 5 or 10 minutes
he
together.
He has his book written already. I'll tell you now, it's sad but beautiful at the same time. My stepdad was dying from cancer. We had returned from the UK in January of 2000. And my brother Martin, hi to Martin if you're tuned our way, he asked me if I would look after Tommy at our house in Maynooth. And as I said, I was into the rock and roll stuff, a little bit of a rock and roller here. But Tommy loved country music. And I said, Tommy, look, this is your car, even though it's mine, it's yours. Whatever we have is yours. Whatever you want, we'll do. What station would you like to listen to? This was above in Dublin now. And of course, he tuned into the Kick FM, which don't exist anymore now, they're gone. But that was a country music station. So I left it there. I hit the dial and left it right there. He passed away shortly after. And then an announcement came on the radio, do you fancy yourself as being a radio presenter? And I thought, sure, I've seen Shannon earlier on, why not? Sure, chance me, I'm sure I'd chance anything. And I made the phone call and they invited me in, and of course that's it, 23 years on radio.
Wow.
Oh, amazing.
So, and we're just saying earlier on that you just said there, Shannon, and so true, what's for you won't pass you.
Yeah.
And, fate is something as well, it's destined for you. I know people say, well, hold on now, I was involved in a bad crash last week. Is that fate? Perhaps.
Because you don't know what's going to lead from it.
You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know when you leave your home in the morning whether you'll go back to that house at night or not, for whatever reason or other. But I'm not that religious, but I believe something's there
Yeah.
And that something certainly landed at my door, and I am so happy to this day. And I pinch myself. I don't know about you guys, but I pinch myself every year that passes, and I'm still doing what I do.
Oh, it is good.
Love it.
That's magic, man.
I think radio in general is just such a great place to work, and you meet such amazing people all the time. I think through working in radio. And Adam, now
Hello.
I'm coming to you now.
Fantastic.
Talking about good people to work with. You do work on my team in the digital team as well, but also you have the latest of late shifts on a Thursday from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Sorry, not that would have been long.
Yeah, I love working the 14-hour shifts. They really get me going.
10 p.m. to 12 a.m. What is it about your show that makes it so easy for you to stay up way past your bedtime?
Definitely way past my bedtime. I am usually in bed about 9:30 regularly. But yeah,
in the morning.
Those days are long behind me now, Joe. But no, I actually love it. I love it because there's something about being in the building by yourself. You have all the equipment, you have all the lights, and I like to dance a lot. So when I'm playing the music, I'll just be throwing shapes, and I feel sometimes Claire O'Brien would be recording like Mixtape Newer or something in the background, and I'd nearly catch myself because I'd like be dancing. I'd be throwing all these shapes, and then I'd look out through the mirror, and there she is, just kind of like staring at me, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot there's somebody else.
Because I actually do that.
Same thing.
Yeah, when you're on your own and you have the music, you're so caught up in the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, you're so into it. Yeah, exactly. And I love that. And I like the idea of like closing up and just kind of like entertaining. I have the idea of like I'm either entertaining people who need to be on the road to be driving that late, or the people who don't want to sleep just yet and they're looking for an excuse to stay up. Sure. And I like kind of being a voice that can hopefully like keep the energy going. There are some times, all right, where the energy might be low, so I'll take like a bar of chocolate or something that'll perk me back up. But another joy of it is that I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of creative freedom with my show. And because it's kind of after the prime hours, I have even more creativity with my show. So I can kind of play music that I think the listener will enjoy at that point in the night, but also that I think it obviously has to be very good for radio. It has to tick a lot of boxes before it can go out, as Joe would well know, adding songs to the
But you do promote new people as well,
exactly.
Irish in particular, which I love about your
100%.
Brilliant, yeah.
And I guess it's a catch-22. I have the freedom, but now I need to try to keep the listeners until midnight. I need to give something that's going to make them think, well, you know, if I am going to stay up, why would I stay up this later? I want to go to bed. What'll I do then? So I try to come up with some fresh ideas and again, keep an energy to the show that will make people stay until the midnight clock hits. And then it's time to either go to bed or stay on the road or whatever. So I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to have the position that I have. Same as Joe. Find myself kind of stopping when I'm here with all the equipment, being like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah. And that always helps when I keep forgetting the air conditioning on air and, you know,
it's hard to sleep when you go home because you're still in a
buzzing.
High. It's like doing a gig.
It's the worst.
Do a gig,
yeah.
When you go home, it could be 3 or 4 and you're still awake.
Yeah, still
because
awake.
You're just excited. Even all those years.
But I actually would agree with you. Like, I know I certainly don't dance when I'm doing a business show.
I would love that. I was going to ask.
Things might change, but actually, even I find on Tuesday evenings, I've had to find a way of almost unwinding afterwards because there's a great buzz and a high, and there is even a sense of privilege of having live radio time because it's not that rare. It's not that common. You know, there's only a certain few people have that, and I think even it's up to us all to kind of protect that as well and do the best we can for listeners. And I think if the presenter has the enthusiasm and the energy, and I mean certainly for both of you two as well, it comes across in spades. You can actually, but if people here are listening to this now going, they can imagine you dancing because they know it. They already knew that. They mightn't have seen it,
and
but
singing
they know
along
it
and
as well.
everything.
It's fantastic.
Even weird things like harmonising. You do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
mad. Yeah.
Oh, but that is beautiful. Yeah, very good point. I would love to see you dance during like 23% APR.
No, you wouldn't.
But you said there, Ronan, that we are privileged. And we're privileged in other ways too, in that there are people out there who listen only to radio.
Yeah.
And we're keeping them listening to us, listening to this radio station. Those people are the reason why the station is open. And that's another reason why I love doing what I do. Because I know that we're talking to many people but one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's that one person in that car or in that nursing home or at home or out walking with the Walkmen.
Well, actually, something that I am very curious about is the fact that, you know, obviously we do late music shows. Ronan, you're a talk show. Shannon, you're a talk show, and you're brand
have
new
to work
at this.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. All right, interviewer over there.
I was just trying to find that smooth segue.
No, that is my next question actually, because I was just going to quickly go through. Ronan, how long have you been on air with Midlands 103 now?
5.5 years at this stage,
Wow.
which I find bamboozling. And Adam probably won't be surprised at this. It's 270 shows I've done.
Wow.
So since Taking Care of Business went back on air, here comes the sad bit. There's been 278 episodes broadcast, and I've been in the hot seat for 270 of those.
Oh wow!
I keep a spreadsheet.
Wow.
I was going to say.
No, I have to keep a
True
track of
business.
guests just
You've
to see
only
kind of.
missed
Yeah,
8
of course,
shows.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous?
That's
almost
incredible.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, this man beside me, I'd say, he probably has even far better track record than that. And that's not my primary.
Because how many
metric.
with Midlands? Jerry?
Over 20 years now.
Oh wow!
With Midlands.
I mean,
23
I'm an
years
hour-
on radio
yeah.
for someone who that wasn't even on my radar.
Oh wow!
Which is
But
mad.
10
People go
hours a
to
week
college
versus
to
one, like.
do media studies and so on,
Yeah.
and they work hard. Some people don't, but go into radio stations just doing whatever they have to do to move their way up. I was very fortunate in that, but I see where you're coming from, Ronan. When you start adding up the figures,
Yeah, it doesn't say, but like for likes of yourself now, or say someone like Will who's doing 15 hours a week, and you have at least 10, maybe 12, 14 hours some weeks. You know, yourself and Shannon, it's one. Now,
Yeah.
when you're doing other stuff outside, like, it's still a lot to fill as well. I suppose for us talkies, you know, we have to fill about 45 to 50 minutes
yeah,
of a
that's
show.
the thing.
You know, likes of Adam, about what, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
couple of
Those
smart
clocks.
quips here and there.
I agree there with that, with Ronan. The talking end of it, that is the tough one for Will, for yourself, and for Shannon as well, because you have to interview people and you have to keep the contact up and exciting all the time. And if you've got someone on who's not a great interviewee, you have to keep, prodding and probing all the time to keep the show exciting.
It flies past though.
But it's
Oh,
still
it
not
does,
easy
doesn't
because
it?
you're talking all through that. Whereas our programs, in terms of, it's mainly music content.
That's it.
So it's very easy. I used to do 3 hours. In
Yeah,
fact, I used to do
that's
3
right,
hours,
yeah.
6 nights a week here.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And then it just was too much.
Yeah.
3 hours, 6 nights a week. But they brought in the specialised programs, or specialist programs, I should say, your one and yours, Shannon. And that reduced the country music show. For years here, it was 3 hours.
Wow.
7 to 10
Oh wow!
on Midlands 103. And a lot of stations were 3
Yeah.
hours. But, for the BCI and all the other bits and bobs, you have to comply with certain rules and regulations. And it's great that they brought in specialist programs. That business program is an excellent program.
Yeah.
And I'm in business, so it's great. You get some pointers from his program. Helps people like myself who are self-employed.
Yeah.
And Shannon's program then for arts, a lot of people love arts and all that stuff, theatres all over the place, what's going on, when and how and where and why and who you're interviewing. All these things are all so important.
Yeah.
And back to your one. I love your show. I absolutely love your show. Absolutely love your show. And I think it's more than just a show. The show is about the person presenting. Remember that. Because if Ronan had someone else in his place, and that person wasn't clued into how Ronan presented his show, you're longing for him to come back.
Well,
Same with Will. When Will goes, and there are many people who can do a brilliant job, but you're still going, you miss Will.
yeah.
You miss, I know you're brand new.
I was going to say, this leads me very nicely.
I'm just smiling, backing away.
I know you're brand new, but you very quickly make your mark. You make it very, very quickly. There's no doubt about that. But your enthusiasm is something else.
Well, thank you very much,
Something
Joe.
else.
You're very kind, man.
That fiver now, if you could.
No, I was going to say. But no, because Adam, you've just gone a year, haven't you?
Just going a year in March. Yeah.
And then we've got a very, very newbie here as well. But you've, and talking about taking over from someone as well, filling in some shoes, just while Claire takes a bit of a break. Just a bit of background, you are the content creator on the digital team as well, so you're with me too, but you have got your own show now also, which is Encore. So what was it and what has it been like?
It's been a little nerve-wracking, mainly because it's not something just mine, something that I came up with and went like, yeah, this is what I'm going to roll with. It's stepping into her shoes and making sure I do her show justice, as well as giving what the listeners are used to. So it's been very nerve-wracking, but I think I'm doing it justice.
You are. You really are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really,
I'll
And Shannon,
hand out all the money later.
Don't worry too much about what the other person brought to the table. You will have your own personality, which you have, of course.
You
and
bring it,
that
Thank
will
you.
shine as you go on, and you know yourself, Ronan, when you come in first, we're all nervous when we start.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, people can't remember who was there before.
Oh, that's just it. And I mean, I've done, what, three shows now?
3. I think it's 4.
Is it 4?
Or coming up to 4. Coming up on 4.
Yeah, coming up on 4. And it's just, it's incredible. I'm as you guys said earlier, you get such a high after it. I just go home and I'm buzzing. I'm like a rabbit.
And you don't even know how you got home.
Yeah.
It's mad,
but the guards do.
Yeah.
It's the most incredible feeling, and it's something I've always wished to do. It's like being on radio is a massive dream of mine. So to be able to do it, I'm just so grateful for it.
Just a little bit of background information for listeners is that sometimes some of the shows are pre-recorded. They might sound live, but sometimes we pre-record them, like we did with yours for the first 2. Yeah. You did your first live show last Thursday, which went amazingly.
Brilliant, yeah.
Thank you.
You really did.
I'll put the money down later.
Well, I did send you a
LinkedIn,
on the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Say, well done.
That was so sweet.
Absolutely. And I think that's another thing that's very important. While Midlands 103 might be a big company, it's small in the numbers. So we all need to be, pushing for each other, forward promoting and all that sort of stuff as well. And lifting each other. When one is down, the other should lift. And I think that is the way it is with Midlands 103.
I definitely think it is.
Yeah.
Everyone is incredibly supportive here. It's one of the best companies I've ever worked for.
Absolutely.
So,
again, as somebody who, say, by a day job, and that is technically external, but has been very much, internal for the last 5.5 years. I noticed that even just the handovers, like, that extra few minutes just to make sure the new person, or if you spot there's a new person coming in or somebody covering for Joe, just hang around a little bit extra, check they've got everything, because sometimes stuff changes or it could be just the button missed, and I always found
you're a legend at that anyway. He lines up the community diary, the entertainment guide, the weather.
He spoon-fed this man. But then in fairness, this is the man who showed me first. He panelled for me when I first started.
So I panelled for so many here.
That's the interesting thing. I only realise that now. You are literally the sensei for the evening in Midlands 103.
Yes.
You are the man who comes on after the 1 hour talks and then before the late shifts.
Yeah, but I have been on since I started here. When the new shows came on, I trained almost everyone on that specialist show coming in.
That is unreal.
Over the years. And the way I do it was, my job was to panel, because I was on the 3 hour slot and was reduced to 2, so I panelled for the others before they came in. And my ethos is, train the person and they'll be good at what they do themselves.
Exactly.
And if you're there pushing those buttons yourself, after a while you'll be like flying along.
Exactly.
It's freedom,
and it's a freedom thing as well.
More
because you go in and you're not
then,
conscious someone sitting on the other side of that desk while you're trying to work.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing to have independence.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to do that. But I still stayed for the hour. And stayed for the hour.
That's
and
really nice.
Some of them said, "Don't leave, just stay. Even though I'm fine, I'm going fine. Don't go because I feel it'll all go wrong."
Yeah,
and
it's that fear in the back of the head that's like, I
always give my number out as well.
Oh.
So anytime, day or night, ring me if I can assist. And it's only the simple things that you can make a mistake on the desk. Something very, very simple.
Yeah.
We were here one night. It was something as simple as the talk button there or music button. And it was on talk. When it transferred over, blank.
Do you know what I did learn over the years, actually? If there is somebody covering for the normal presenter before you, get into the studio about 10 minutes early and double check everything. I got caught one even with a person was in, and most people, do you slide the faders up and down or do you turn them on
Some
and off?
of them leave them up, yeah.
I slide.
Joe, you're a slider, yeah?
I'm a slider.
I'm a slider.
I came across the person who was not a slider. And everything was turned off and you're pressing all these buttons and got a bag on. But I think it's just simple things. You experience teaches you that. Shannon, I'm looking at you. You come in, you just double check that everything's open up and everything's working, and just in case.
But you see what you just said there now is making the listener right now aware that it isn't just being behind a microphone, that there are a lot of little bits and bobs going on as well. So you're multitasking, even though you're just talking, but you're multitasking.
Studio guests always love to see going behind the desk and look at all the stuff you're looking at. I tell them that we have to watch everything on it. 4 buttons we have to look at.
Don't give it away.
That's
the big green one, the little black one, and then the red one. That's all you need.
It is so empowering.
Until something goes wrong. Then you need to know all the other bits and bobs.
When I was doing a video, because trying to keep up the socials and different things, especially when it's the Very Irish Playlist, so late, I try to give a reason on social media for people to tune in. And one of them was, I did a remix of this song. Can't even really remember what it was right now, but it was really cool. It was like rap beats and all that kind of stuff. And literally,
it was the Fresh Prince.
That was it. It was the Fresh Prince mix. And I remember, you can see me in the video, like I start messing with the faders and I'm like, yeah, here we go. And I do this and I start like finger banging. I start like grabbing my belt. I don't even wear a belt, but I was grabbing it and I was like moving and I was like, yeah, the second you touch the faders, you feel like a pro. It's a whole other element. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
And that's why it's important that the person that's in there learns the desk, or is given a chance to learn the desk and not have someone paneling all the time.
Very important, yeah. Absolutely.
It gives you independence, and you can do all you're doing there. And because you become a part of that machine, don't you?
Oh, definitely. And it feels great. And one thing that I really want to add, if you don't mind me saying, Shannon, not only did you take over a show, a talk show, so again, 48 minutes worth of talk time, and then you also took on that role 2 months into this brand new job, so you were like,
not even.
It wasn't even 2 months.
It was 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I was 2 weeks in my new job when I got asked if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
Like, what is going through your mind when you're looking at your schedules and then realizing, I also have to record for a show now
and make sure everything's in place.
Well, I'll tell you, I can actually jump in on this one. I feel bad because I'm supposed to be presenting and not adding stories, but I may have tricked her slightly.
I was very nervous, and I was like, if I take this on, I don't want to jeopardize my job and what I'm doing now, because I'm only kind of figuring out my role. And I turned around to Sarah and I was like, I don't want to commit to something and not do well in my other job. And Sarah turned around and was like, I'll be your producer.
Well, I said, well, why don't we present it and do it together? And the plan was, we'll do it together and I'll slowly do a backdoor boogie out of it.
Sarah, I'm personally speaking, that's just something that's one of the things I've always thought, and I'm sure you guys will agree as well. Co-presenting I think is brilliant. I know it's about affordability and everything, but co-presenting, you get two personalities bouncing off each other. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's a music show or a talk show.
Yeah.
And I think it fills radio. It's lovely.
Yeah.
You know?
So and then you just kind of went away with it then, and your confidence grew.
Yeah.
So it was easy enough for me to then just go, right, in that case, I think you can do this on your own. You're doing a great job. I'm going to be your producer. Yeah. Just call me your producer. I'll stand in the back and do, the little bits here and there, help you out when you need it. But you just needed that little push. And
I think that's all I needed.
And I know the thing is, it was nice where you came from. Obviously, being part of my team and worrying about your role there, honestly, since you came in, you've been fine. But thank you. But it's that kind of thing.
That's recorded now.
It is. But no, and you just need that push. And I think sometimes people do just need a little bit of confidence as well, and to know that they've got people to fall back on. Yeah. And I think one thing for me, which is important, and I'm sorry there's 3 men in here, but very important for me is supporting women as well, and getting more women on the airwaves. And then that's what we really want to kind of get a few more on as
balance,
well.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So with that, what would any of you give any advice to someone that's looking to get into radio, to presenting a show or coming up with their own specialist show?
I think if I could just dive in first, is just do it. I think fear holds so many people back, and it stops them from actually wanting to go and do something. So instead of, I think just do it, because nothing's going to be perfect. You're going to learn as you go. I think just dive in.
Well, I think my story says it all. Where it wasn't even on my radar to do radio or to even go up and start. I'm singing now publicly, which I wouldn't have done, and I only started that at 60 years of age. Oh, so the advice there is, if you really like something enough, go and do it. And I say to people so many times when I'm out publicly talking and bits and bobs is, everybody can sing, everybody can present. Don't let anyone tell you can't. You just need to go forward, get in there, and you'll get all the help you need.
I think if you have a passion for something as well, you're not working. It's just you're doing something that you love.
And you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly, and that's exactly how I feel working here.
I would definitely agree with the guys here. And I think even back to Shannon and Joe's point as well, that if you have got an interest or you've got that little itch that you want to scratch, there's multiple ways in too, like, you know, to land in and say I want to do a specialist 1 hour show is probably not going to work, because, you know, you've got running orders, you've got schedules, you've got very competitive presenters on air, you know. But there's always opportunities to contribute to my show, maybe to Midlands Today, or to different shows. And I know I would always have my eyes and ears open if somebody is creating something, and particularly say the news team as well. The fact that they're going out researching stuff, if they've got a story or a concept, you know, come to me with it and let's get it on there, you know. So there's plenty of opportunities that if you kind of sit back and go, I have to go in and try and, you know, push somebody out of a seat and take over, and that's going to be a long, difficult road. There's other ways as well. So I think the first thing to do is get in touch with the station, because there's no better people to get in touch with anyway, and at least get to know people, float your idea. And who knows? I mean, I'm here by accident as well. So,
what was your accident?
I had a cup of coffee with the late great Albert Fitzgerald one day, and we were talking, I suppose, about, I was a business consultant at the time. I'm an engineer by qualification, and that's my day job, you know. So, like, no formal radio training. Now, I've done a lot since I started, actually, kind of with the through learning waves and that, just to kind of keep myself up to speed and kind of constantly trying to develop in that. But I was just chatting to Albert about the various business shows that were on the national airwaves. And Albert, in true Albert style, he kind of gave the little grin and the smirk, and he said, well, funny you should mention it. He said, we need to put a business show back into our schedule. And he said, we're targeting September. Now, this was mid-July 2017. Would you do it? And I went, yeah. That is how it started. About awesome. A month and a half or more later, I finally met Will Faulkner, and Will put me through the ringer down in the Apple Green down the road, but he obviously liked what he heard from me. And we started on the 5th of September.
Wow.
And I remember Albert sat with me for the first 2 or 3 shows, and he turned up 5 minutes before the show started, and I was panicking.
Oh God!
But I learned very quickly that, like, in radio, 5 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah,
changed the
very
whole.
much so.
It's brilliant. So, like, even the life lessons you learn from it, the lessons you learn about yourself as well, a new sense of calmness and just go with the flow. Sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm a devil for organisation and having things ready and right, you know. But you also learn to be able to just, that's not pressure. That's, you know, great learning. So, yeah, that's how I ended up in radio.
Well, talking about the late Albert, just mentioned there that he stood in for you.
Yeah.
And I stood behind him while he was doing his show.
Yeah, and he always used to press the wrong buttons.
And he said to me, you make me nervous.
But you know what?
It was on, most panelling is done from here. I'm sorry, you sit here and the paneler sits there. But I had Albert on the desk and I stood behind him while he was, and I'd walk over his shoulders while he worked. You make me nervous. That's a lovely man.
The one, as many great things he'd said to me over the years, but I remember in the early days, simplest thing he said to me was, you will be your own best critic.
Yeah.
Listen back to yourself. And he said, you'll spot the little hooks, the cues, the little things you're using, the little crutches. And it's the best piece of advice I ever got from it. You just need to find that time, listen back to yourself, and you spot those little things, and you automatically correct.
No, Shannon.
You know, you've got the team. You've got the team here.
I have.
You know,
and you cringe.
Things
you
already.
Cringe. You will cringe.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because you're bad. Because no one likes the sound of their own voice when they're listening back.
But actually, the things you're hearing, nobody else is actually noticing, but you're noticing, and you're able to. It helps you just kind of improve what you're doing too. And I thought the best bit of advice I got, and just listen back. Bearing in mind, you've got a fantastic team here in the station with, like, the experience they have, and award-winning presenters, the best equipment, great resources, like great engineering team, great digital team, of course.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And, you know, so, like, I mean, it's there if you want to build a show, if you want to try and do a new concept, if you want a bit of advice or guidance, somebody has probably seen or heard it before and can help you sort of sculpt it to be that great piece of radio. You know, I've tried a few things, even with Adam there, we did a sketch at Christmas. I've never found a group of people as willing to just throw their hats into
this is where
anything like
people could get into mainstream radio. And that's how I wouldn't have gotten in here only but for the fact that I had spent a couple of years with another station, albeit a pirate station. But I learned to ply my trade, or learn my trade there before I came here. And when this job came up, it was a neighbour of mine. Again, talk about faith. Talk about just being in the right place at the right time. We bought a house in Cunningham. The neighbour got chatting to the neighbour. Oh, I know you from country music. You were in Kick-A. I am. They're gone. Do you know Midlands 103 are looking for someone?
Oh, your new neighbour.
New neighbour.
Wow.
Always. That's when I say now we're out in the heart of the country.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, you were the same, Adam. You were came in through the back door, as it were.
Yeah. Funnily enough, if we're going to roll with it, let's roll with fate.
Absolutely.
I had just moved into my father's house after I'd moved out of our family home, and he came into me one day, and I was doing music at the time, and myself and my friend were doing like podcasts and different things, and apparently Midlands 103 had put up something on their website to say, oh, are you interested in podcasting? We'll do a podcast training. So I was like, grand, so I'll throw something together. And I wasn't expecting anything, I really, really wasn't. So I just made a total skit. Like I had, here's one of the greatest rock and roll songs of all time, You Ready to Rock? And then it broke into Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong. And then it went from there to me doing a weather report from the inside of a tornado. Like it was a totally random, wild thing, but 4 minutes long, and I threw it in. Will emailed me back and was like, do you want to come in? So I came in and ended up doing a pre-recorded 1 hour show. And I think I did about 3 more pre-recorded shows, and then that was it. It was about radio silence for a while. And then randomly he emailed me just saying, we have a position here if you want to come in, part of the digital team. So it's like, fantastic. I mean, absolutely, because I was just looking for a job. And I came in, and then there was the rebranding of originally The Vibe with Paul Downey, who did a great service for the Irish music scene. Yeah. And when that was kind of changing and they were looking for a different take on it. I don't know, I just happened to be sitting in the right place when Roy walked out of the room. He just saw me and he's like, you. And then he picked me up and I got into it. And same as that, I was very nervous. But I have to say, one of the biggest things, and I think we'll all agree here, because between specialists with talking to the people for so long, and then for a particular genre of music, I'm lucky as well that I get to cover the Irish music scene. And I love being able to support those people who come on the show. Like what Ronan was saying, you can talk to us. And I love that. I love when people get in contact with us and then say, I have this new song, or for you it could be like, we're opening this arts centre, or we have a different show coming up. And then you get to talk to them and you get to hear their passion, and then at the end of it they're like, thanks so much for doing this. And you're like, no, thank you. This was brilliant. I love having the content. It's nice to be able to support the community. And that's, for me, that's where the buzz come when I'm driving home. I'm just like,
well, when you said that, Adam, you're talking about, you get great heart and excitement out of supporting local acts as well.
For sure.
Well, I remember coming into here to Roy many, many years ago, and the academic were just starting out. Yeah. And I know the mum and dad very well.
That's right. Yeah.
And they, Brenda said to me, Joe, would you ever ask them in there if they give the academic a place? And I listen, I'm country music. It's not my genre. And I listened to the CD show. I said, you're absolutely fantastic. I'll ask Roy.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs and I said, and Roy says, I don't know them, I've never heard of them. Leave it there and we'll see what we'll do. And you know what? They had a number 1 just the other night. Did you see that?
They did.
Yeah.
Number 1, first time, knocking Taylor Swift and others off the number 1 slot. Wow. And it's not like some of the country music scene number 1s, or people stay up all night getting people to buy their stuff, and all of a sudden it goes into a number 1. I'm talking actual, big time number 1.
Yeah.
And you know the academic, and you know that they are absolutely brilliant.
They're unreal.
Fantastic. So, it's, even though they weren't country, I felt 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
When they were doing well, thinking that at least
they're a great band.
Yeah, it's this, what you do is absolutely amazing. I hear you talking about, if you have new music, send it in to me, and it's so good, because I talked about this chap Brendan I was telling you about.
That's right. Yeah.
He's yet to do it. He's very, very good, but he'll get it into you.
I hope.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Same with country music. It's about, and this man promotes new businesses when you think about it. And Shannon, you're promoting new acts and new bits and bobs to do with the arts and so on. So we all promote.
Yeah.
Unwittingly sometimes, so we do it.
Yeah.
I've got to say, sorry, just on the academic, I've got to say, I know you interviewed them. Peter interviewed them, and Lorraine interviewed them at EP, and I've got, what a bunch of professional boys. They were so amazing.
Heads right squarely on the shoulders.
Yeah. What an absolute pleasure to watch being interviewed. Just they were brilliant, and I think, but there's lots of bands, as you say, that
there is, and to be honest, I'm exceptionally lucky that I get to actually talk to a lot of the people who are working in the industry. And I've had a bit of working in the industry myself through making my own music with my band. And so I kind of understand where some of them come from, and then some of them go on completely different journeys than what I've done. And I find that really fascinating. I love learning more about them. But it's really nice to be able to say, even just today in my band's WhatsApp, I put in the promo that we're doing for Chasing Abbey. I got to interview the lads, and I threw it into the lads, talking to these 3 lads from Tullamore, and there's Chasing Abbey. I met them in the studio the other day. Funny story about that. that wasn't the plan in my head. I was upstairs, and Marina, who's our receptionist, turns to me and she just goes, anyone looking for Chasing Abby? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be getting in a call.
Marina's English, by the way, not Australian. But
Not.
I was thinking
that'll be a cut. That'll be a cut.
retake.
That stays. People need to know who I am. I'm bad with accents. It's not like anybody who listens to the Very Irish playlist doesn't know that. But she calls up and not going to do the accent anymore. Thanks, guys. Says
keep doing it.
Is anyone looking for Chasing Abby? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be jumping into an interview with them. It's like, all right, they're downstairs. And I was like, they're what? I had no idea they were supposed to be coming to the building. I'm walking down the stairs. There's 3 pair of legs and tracksuits. And I'm like, Chasing Abby's at the front door. None of the recording studios were available because it was when everything was happening. It was so busy here in the day. So it's like, where am I going to have these lads? Brought them down to the back room in production, which is where Niall does all of his magic for getting our ads out and stuff. Turns out the lads had a full story there. That was where they did their first recording for a talent show, was back there.
Oh my God.
So everything, literally, it's so wonderful just being able to talk.
Yeah.
They have their own stories. You let them away with it.
Yeah.
And then you realise when
There's
you're
that fate
finished,
again.
Yeah, it's when you realise when you finish talking with them, you're like, not only am I talking to people whose job was like my dream job, which was like they're signed with Sony, or like they're signed with Universal, they're signed with major labels. Their job, or Flynn even from Mullingar, like he's living between California and London.
Wow.
They're living their dream. They're meeting writing staff every day and making music, and then I get to play it and I get to talk to them. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Like, it makes no sense to me. But it's so incredible. And there was one little point that I wanted to mention for anybody who might hesitate potentially getting into radio, being like, oh, I don't know if it's for me or anything like that. I'm very lucky as well that I've got to do a lot of outdoor broadcasts. Mm-hmm. So for anyone who doesn't know, the uninitiated, that means that I go out and I set up the van whenever we go out local, and we get in business minds or people passing by to come in on the microphone and talk to us. And I can't tell you how many times people say, I can't do this, I can't go on air, I'm way too nervous, you can't make me. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to make you, but you know, you come on here, you could win a prize, or you can talk to us about your business, it'll really help, I promise you. And then they get on and they come off and they're just riding this high, like they nearly don't want to stop. The presenter actually has to turn to them and be like, well, that's enough for now, we'll be back after this. And they love it, you know, it really is. Until you're actually behind the mic, you don't know. And then when it goes live and you know you can't back out anymore, suddenly you're forced into it and you love it. And so like, how was it for you actually when you know when your encore bed was coming in
Oh my God.
on the Thursday night and you're going live for the first time? What was it like?
Your head goes blank and it's like, oh my God, what am I going to say?
Just for a second.
I can't do dead air. And then once you put the fader up and it flows.
Yeah.
And it's just like, right, I know what I'm doing. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I know what's happening in this hour, which flies, and I have so many incredible people. I think with my show, it's just great to be in with the community. That's what I love about this.
You get to talk to so many, I call them VIPs in the art world.
Yeah.
Ooh, good plug, Joe. Good plug.
It's nowhere near as powerful a story as Chasing Abby's, but actually it's just dawned on me, the very first thing I ever recorded in here, not for my own show, was probably back in 2012 maybe. And it was a piece, because I was with Tullamore Amateur Dramatic Society at the time, and it was a piece of a play called The Problem by A.R. Gurney, and myself and a girl from Rahue called Elaine Abbott came in and we recorded across the hall with Claire O'Brien for encore, and it was a snippet of a play that we were putting on in Tullamore, and it's just dawned on me now that I remember that's probably 11, 12 years ago.
Wow. Well, and now look at you.
You're talking about meeting, people that should, you kind of, your heart skips a beat when you meet them, like Chasing Abby and that. First time I got to meet, this is one of the great things about radio as well, is you get to meet your icons. Now, when you're a country music presenter, not all your icons are Irish. Your icons are actually American, because that's where the country music came from. And I got to meet Chris Christopherson, Glenn Campbell, what's your man, Don McLean.
Oh, wow.
So many more as well, and Charlie Pride, and of course one of the most recent was Garth Brooks of in Dublin. So, this job is not just about coming in and sitting there for 2 hours on your lonesome. You've got all those people listening, and you have those opportunities of meeting your people that, the first time I interviewed Chris Christopherson, I made a complete SH, what. because it was my first time to interview. Like, I could chat to anyone all day, but this guy, my tongue went dry. And I was like, because he wasn't just a singer, he was an actor, a songwriter, musician, multi-talented poet, multi-talented man, Chris Christopherson. I don't know whether you've ever seen him in movies and that.
I've seen him, I know, yeah.
Oh, incredible, absolutely incredible. And such a humble man, but still just... When you
couldn't get it out.
Yeah. We got it done eventually. And the sad thing is, my wife said, why don't you take photographs when you're interviewing these people? You do all the time. Fair play.
Well, if they're here, it's usually you that takes them in fairness.
Yeah. Is it you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. For him, no, I don't walk in. Excuse me, Susie, Joe, come in here.
We went for 2 years with very few, the whole COVID period with no live guests, which, again was a phenomenal time. And I felt then it was the only place I was going of a week, and I was actually hoping the guards would stop me because I had my letter going, he's a broadcaster. True, but it never happened, for a lot of us, this was nearly our only, you weren't allowed with more than 2 kilometres outside your family home.
It wasn't only
but
work,
I thought it was
such
a lovely, beautiful time to be on air as well. Because, businesses were still going. There were, a lot of challenges, but there was great stories happening as well. So whilst you lost the kind of face-to-face with guests, which I still love, that really gets the biggest kick out of that.
Yeah.
The one thing it did was it actually it allowed you to expand because, number one, anybody you wanted for the show was available because they weren't going anywhere either. There was no such thing as, he's on holidays or she's got a meeting next week. Everybody's available. And you could kind of push the boundaries in terms of who you got on as well. And I think that kind of momentum has stayed too. But anytime there's live guests in, Joe's photographs and I think, Joe, I have 10 seconds left in the break. Smile. That's why you're big red ahead of me every time there's a photograph and all.
But the thing is, though, it's a big thing for the social side of things now as well. Yeah. Because the greatest thing about radio is that we're a friend. And we're talking directly to that one person.
That's right.
There might be loads, as you said, but it's that one person.
Yeah.
And now they can see us as well. And I think that's where radio and social media really do link up really well together because it opens up that thing. Because a lot of people who listen to radio, they have one main radio station and normally 2 others that they flick between.
True, yeah.
That's normally isn't it? And that one is they're people, and people think that they know you guys, and I think it's such a precious part of radio. And being able to use that.
Homes, we're just another member of that family.
My mother, they were 55 years married there at start of this month.
Congratulations.
But I said it on air one night, so of course I got a phone call 10 minutes later. Yeah, divil, and a bit of a giggle, But last week they were in doing shopping and they met these 2 women in town, and that they've known them all their lives, and like, here's your big anniversary lately, and the stuff, what people are hearing on air as well is incredible, and stuff that really kind of keeps me going as well. As I've got business owners texting me months after they're on the show going, somebody was listening whose son or daughter or whose cousin was coming home or wanted another job, and they put them in touch with them, and the amount of companies that have connected and done business. But I think for everybody, and I mean all our shows as well, it's stories, and that's the one thing we're all talking about today is the stories. Every business has a story, every business person has a story, and our listeners love those stories. I love the stories, the listeners love the stories. And do you know what? We talk about how many shows I've done, how many years you're on, all these various metrics you could look at. One for me is, am I enjoying it? And absolutely. I think if that changes, the day that changes, then I'll have to sit down and examine it. But it ain't changing at the minute anyway, so you're stuck with me, I think.
Well, listen, thank you so much. And guys, it's been a pleasure having you all on. I have a double sword-edged question for you all. Just in a few words each. I'll go to you first, Ronan. What is your favourite thing about having a specialist show? And if any, what is the worst thing about having a specialist show?
The best thing, I think, touching on what I said there about, am I enjoying doing the show? And if I'm enjoying it, I think that comes across with the listeners. The one thing I love about it is, I think sometimes even us people who have grown up, I was born and grew up in the Midlands, we think of it as a small region. And I always say to people, I will never run out of stories of new businesses, of new developments with businesses, of new ideas, new innovations happening in the Midlands. And I think that to me is the single best thing. Just that insight to be able to get in, a bit like Adam says about the bands, to be able to get to know these business people, meet the people behind these businesses, the people who are creating jobs in our communities, the people who are giving the next generation a reason to stay here and to really reap the benefits of what living in the Midlands can bring as well. They're heroes in my eyes, and to get into that kind of network and to get to know those people is just like, it's a privilege. And anything I can do for those businesses or any business out there, I'm happy to do it on air. People know how to get me and all that kind of thing as well. That's definitely the best part of it. Like, yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah.
Any worst?
The worst.
Any negative thoughts?
And look, when I started doing the show, people told me, someone did it for 3 months, someone did it for 4 months, someone else did it for 2 weeks. People can't find the time to do it. I haven't had that problem at all. I think I've a good lean system on the go at the minute. Like, you know, I like to be organised.
With your spreadsheets.
I use spreadsheets. I have to. Well, when you're doing it, when you have a full-time job and a young family and all the other bits as well, you kind of have to have a bit of organisation. But organisation then allows you more time to consider the content you're doing, and therefore hopefully deliver better shows. And you know, it's everything. It's net gains all the way. The worst part, do you know, I'm actually really, really struggling. I can't.
But you don't have more hours? 2 hours?
Oh.
No, you
didn't say that. No.
Joe, what about you? Best thing and worst thing about having a specialist show?
Well, the best thing about the show is, in this country in particular, there's a huge percentage of the population that love country music.
Love it.
Yeah.
And it's mad. You hear people say, do you like country music? They're reaching like they're getting sick. But in fact, it's huge. If you go to any of the concerts that are on Nathan Carter, Mike Denver, any of those, jam-packed right to the door, and people wanting to get in that can't get in because there's no room for them to go in. I love being a big part of all of that. All of those guys, I know every one of them personally. I've had photographs taken. I've sat down and had a drink with nearly every single one of the people in the country music.
It's a lot of drink people
in this country. and thankfully I don't drink. So,
okay.
Otherwise I'd be an alcoholic, and I'd be probably 10 times the size that I am now. Yeah, look, I absolutely love what I do. I love it despite the fact that it wasn't the genre, my first choice genre, but I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. And like, I'm 66 next month. Aww. And in all that time that I'm here, I would do another 20 years here.
Oh, amazing.
30 years here. If, of course, the pension, get the pension, be told to walk. But I absolutely love it. I love what I do. I think I'm making so many people happy at night. There are so many people I'm not just going to typecast in terms of just nursing homes, but there are many, many people living alone in this country. Even those, and I found this out in the last 10, 15 years, there are those people who are married, children grown up, and the missus loves her soaps and he loves his country, or it's him that loves his soaps and she loves her country. So you have a radio on in the dining room and a TV on in the sitting room. And that person is on their own in that room listening to what I'm playing. And I love that. I just love that I'm talking to that one person and that I'm doing that one thing that's making so many people happy. You know, even all genres of music.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing. It's a cure for all ailments.
Yeah.
It really, really is. You know,
and if I can actually jump in on that real quick, one of the pleasures that I have doing the late shift after Joe's show is I get to see the texts that came in, and like you have such a strong community, and it's so
lovely.
clear. Yeah, really, really lovely.
They're just so nice. So they are. And like what you have coming in there is nothing to what you actually have listened to your program, and that's something, by the way. I remember training in other presenters going, I only got blah blah blah. No, don't even think like that. There's such a huge listenership to Midlands 103. The biggest listenership in the region is here in this station, Midlands 103. And some people are too shy to ring in, or too shy to, or maybe can't text. Maybe just I want to listen to the music.
Yeah,
you know. But the worst part you're saying there is,
if there is one.
Pardon?
If there is one.
Well, there is one, and I'd like more time.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I'd like more time.
Goodbye, specialist shows. Back to 3 hours.
No, but you know, look, 2 hours is fantastic to get in any radio station for one genre. But I'm just saying that's the worst. In other words, that I can't find anything that I could give out about or moan, or I just love getting into my car and coming down here. I might be in my workshop, something might be stressing me to the nines, but as soon as I walk in, have the shower, have the bite to eat, I'm in that car coming down here, I'm in a different planet.
Yeah.
And you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's just, you look so much forward. Now you might say to yourself, he's 20 years here. Well, I'll be like that in 20 years. You will be.
Yeah.
Something. It's a disease. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's the best kind.
Yeah.
The best kind.
I love it. Well, definitely, if we're going in order
over to you,
left to
Adam.
right, over to me, pass the mic. I think the best thing is definitely kind of like what I said. Like, it's so crazy to be having been part of the industry to then suddenly being kind of a voice behind the industry, and suddenly I'm talking to all these people who like are my brothers and sisters in arms, and I think it's so nice to kind of represent them. I have that pleasure of being able to be like, you know, here's brand new music from Lyra all the way down in Cork, and here she was. I got to talk to her. If you want to listen to it on the podcast. Midlands103.com/podcast, by the way, where you're also listening to this wonderful thing. But yeah, it is. It's always just so wild after I finish a chat, and as well as that, the feedback from the artists that I get, it's really, really heartwarming. They say like, "Oh, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. When's it going out?" And it's just amazing. It feels great to support it. And I like, even if the artists, even if I'm not talking to them, they email in. Like, even before I came down here, I was listening to a song from a band that I haven't heard before, but I love their sound. And I get to be, and it doesn't look like they're getting plays. They emailed the show personally, you know? It's like they had an agent or anything. They're doing everything from themselves. And coming from that angle as well, I've been there. I am there. And it's so nice that I get to be like, this is a great song, and I'm going to play it. And I'm going to give you a shout out. Where can people find you? And that's an honor. I really, really love that. And that certainly is like a big fuel that keeps me going, and that I have to like, Shannon was sitting across from me there the other day. I listened to 35 songs today that came out fresh on the Irish scene. And I'm delighted to sit down and listen to them and find the ones that I can get on the show and put them on. I try to put as many as I can on. It's a 2-hour show, so it's usually only so much, but I do try and get on as much. I think the other side of that sword is the lack of sleep.
Yeah.
I think the 12 to midnight is as much. I love it. It is literally a double-edged sword. Like, it is the latest we can go with live radio at Midlands 103. As I said, I'm usually in bed by 9:30. So not only
in the morning, of course.
Yeah. Don't forget that. That's vital to this part of the conversation. But literally, like, when I'm driving and when I'm about to go, hey, welcome to the Very Irish Playlist, other Adam during the week is in bed. He's asleep at this point. So like, suddenly I'm like, okay, I've got to be awake. And it's a total privilege to be able to come in here at 9 o'clock the next morning. But it is 9 o'clock the next morning, and I'm not home until 12:30. So it's just like,
and you gig outside of this as well.
Oh, absolutely! Yeah, I gig at the weekends.
So you travel all over Ireland.
Yeah, most of the time. So it is. It's
so
a lot.
It is a 9:30 a.m.
Sometimes, sometimes it really is. It's a lot, and again.
Give a quick plug to your own band. Go on.
First Day Lions. You can find us across social media. First Day Lions. That's brilliant us. Band.
Yeah. Really good band.
Well, thanks very much, guys.
You knew it.
I like, again, that's an area that I really love to be able to talk about, which is music, and I think that's a weapon that I think nearly any like music presenter could have. Now, Joe, as you say, you turned 60, you started playing music. Yeah. No doubt, you started realizing even more hard work that goes into music when you can play it or when you're in the scene.
You're driving for hours to do a 2-hour gig.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are looking for more. So
you
end up doing maybe 2.5, 3 hours. You're
exactly.
in the van or the car, whatever you're travelling, and you're heading home. It could be 5 or 6 o'clock or 7 a.m. in the morning when you get home. But, like this business here, you're on a high.
Yeah, you're on a high.
You're on a high.
It's definitely tough to come down, all right.
It's very tough, yeah.
It kind of feels almost like a gig when you do this, because you're playing music.
Yeah.
So you kind of organise the show. And Joe, you have a lot of privilege with this as well, because you actually get to cater your show to how you want it to be.
Yeah.
You can schedule everything.
In most of it,
yeah. And not many shows have that. I will tell you right now, not many shows in any radio. A lot of it is kind of like, it has to follow some sort of rhythm.
Yeah, playlist.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas like back in the golden age, that's air quotes for the podcast
you walked in with your case.
Yeah, you walked in, you had your CDs, you played it.
In my case, your cassettes.
Your Walkmans, yeah. But so the double edge for me is it's great to be on so late. I get to do whatever I want, which is crazy. I'm surprised I haven't been fired yet, to be completely honest with you. Or the electricity bill. Again, that aircon saves my life because I'm dancing in here. But yeah, and then the other side is like, it's just so late. It's so late, and I gotta get up early again. But I love it. It's great. It is great.
That's just
Shannon?
one night.
Oh.
It's just one night.
Yeah.
Grow up.
I don't even know how I can add any more into that. But the best thing, for one, I'm living my dream. It's something I've always wanted to do. So it's still, I'm still pinch myself being like, is this real?
Yeah.
Another thing is it's it's lovely to be able to get into the communities and find these little things within the arts and culture and entertainment that I can bring to a broader audience. So it's nice to be able to get stuff from Laois and Offaly and Westmeath and let everyone know what's going on. I think it's nice to be involved in the community. The worst thing? Oh God. I think because it's just a 1 hour show 1 day a week, it's tough to say no to having things in the show. Because you want to include as much as possible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, I might have to push that out to next week, or is it relevant to what I'm working with this week? So sometimes it's difficult to try and get some things for the show just because you want to put everything in, everything you found that could be in for that week. But I absolutely adore what I do. I love it. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. But I think you can guess by my voice anyway that I'm over the moon to be doing what I do. It is. And I feel like when you are passionate about what you do, especially being a presenter, if you're not interested in what you're talking about, people will know.
Yeah, I think one thing that really jumps out from listening to the guys talking here, and I know that some shows are pre-recorded or maybe some pre-recorded, but most people have actually gone from to getting and doing them live as well. And I mean, I've pre-recorded a few in the past, but probably not for about 3 or 4 years because there's actually more work in it. And sometimes you're just missing that little cutting edge of that live and that live mic.
And Country Roads was never in all the 20 years ever pre-recorded.
Because I'm doing shows some nights with 4, maybe 5 interviewees all on the phone. So you're just like this great fate and technology. And but it works, and gets there. So it's funny. I find when people really get the bug, live is the way they tend to do it.
100%. I think with some people, like with Shannon, it was just to ease in kind of thing. Sometimes
that's a great idea. It's a great way to do it. But you can see the bug has caught her already.
I'm hooked.
She remember Ellen Leonard when she was doing the Friday Night Feeling. She was here for 2 years. Remember Ellen?
Ellen, yeah.
I trained her in as well, and what a lovely, lovely girl. She works with the station in Dublin. We shall leave nameless.
Another one.
But another one, yeah. But again, I think she's involved with the social media or the media, social media part of like yourselves here. And again, she was so excited about that job. But just she couldn't do the two. She couldn't try it.
Oh yes, that is right. Yeah.
That's what happened there. But she was very good, and she was so nervous at the start. But like yourself, you couldn't hear that excitement in the voice, that wanting to be there.
It's totally infectious. Listening to you on air is just like...
Adam.
It's wonderful.
I'll give you that
and that's
later.
what it's about, because there's no point in coming in with a hangover and feeling... in fact,
unlike some people, am I right?
That would suit country music, no? Oh, my head.
Many's a night over the years. I mean, I've come in here where things have been wrong in my life personally, but it's when you push up that microphone, they're not wrong anymore.
There's no worries. There's no worries.
That's it. You push up the microphone, you're just somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's just the most beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much to all of you for joining me today. So that was Ronan Berry, Joe Cooney, Shannon Fogerty and Adam C. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank you.
You have to be wild.
Did you press record?
I did. Join us next time when we go behind the scenes and discuss the inner workings of the station and parts of the work behind radio that many of us do not see. Join us then.